American families in their 50s and 60s are racing to plant these 14 biblical food plants before fall closes. Not because they never gardened, because nobody ever showed them which 14 plants once fed biblical households. Foods that slash your grocery bill by $400 a year, replanted once and harvested for generations. Before plant number 1, drop your state right now because your USDA zone completely changes which of these performs best for you. Find yours and pay attention. And the one at number 14 kept off every mainstream shelf since your great-grandmother's time. This changes everything. Plant number 1. Wheat store bought whole wheat flour runs $6 a bag. Yet one backyard wheat patch replaces that same bag all season long, year after year, without another grocery run. Picture the stalks turning deep gold across an American backyard in late spring. Heavy heads bending low toward a stone mortar, and a woven harvest basket set waiting just below the row. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun, dry soil. Ancient Egyptian granaries stored wheat as currency long before coins ever existed, and your grandmother's pantry followed that same instinct without ever naming it. USDA agricultural records trace einkorn and emmer wheat as the direct ancestors of the loaf sitting on your table right now. One $11 packet of heirloom wheat seed yields enough flour to replace roughly $60 in store-bought bread across a single season. Most American growers cut their wheat stalks too early, harvesting green before the kernel has fully hardened in the head. That single early cut wastes the entire season's flour, turning a $60 harvest into nothing but straw. That is exactly why the harvest window matters more than which wheat variety ends up growing in your row, because timing decides whether that flour ever makes it to your table. And if wheat built the biblical loaf that fed entire households, plant number 2 built the biblical brew that came right alongside it. And nobody at the modern grocery store will ever explain that connection correctly. And somewhere in this video is the story of a grandmother in Ohio who planted her very first backyard grain patch after 50 years of only ever buying flour. That story is coming. Keep watching. Plant number 2, barley. A $5 bag of pearled barley at the grocery store disappears into one single pot of soup, while a single row planted in your own backyard refills that same pot for months on end without another purchase. Picture golden barley heads swaying low and heavy over dark tilled soil, catching afternoon light the way they did across biblical threshing floors. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun, average soil. Barley once served as an actual wage measurement in the ancient world, long before coins ever circulated through any marketplace. USDA agricultural records confirm barley as one of the earliest grains humans ever domesticated for survival. One packet of heirloom barley seed replaces roughly $45 in store-bought bagged barley across a single season. Most American growers leave barley standing too long in the field, and the heavy stalks fall over before harvest. That single delay drops usable yield by nearly half, turning $45 of grain into scattered field waste. That single harvest window explains why grain crops quietly built entire biblical economies, long before anyone thought to plant something purely for protein instead of bread. And once your pantry has grain fully covered, plant number 3 carries something wheat and barley never could. The protein biblical households leaned on hardest when meat stayed scarce and expensive. Plant number 3, lentils. A single can of lentils at the grocery store costs almost $2 for barely more than one serving, while one backyard row produces pounds of dried lentils that store on a shelf for years without spoiling. Picture low green lentil plants, heavy with small flat pods, a stone mortar nearby. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, well-drained soil. Lentils are one of the very few foods documented in scripture by name, tied directly to Jacob's own household in the Book of Genesis. University extension records confirm lentils as one of the oldest cultivated protein crops still grown in American gardens today. One $4 seed packet produces enough dried lentils to replace roughly $70 in canned lentils across a full year. Most American growers harvest lentil pods while they are still soft, losing most of the crop to mold and storage. That single early pick can waste $70 of stored protein within a matter of weeks. That timing is exactly why dried storage crops built food security for entire biblical households through winters when nothing else grew. Have you ever grown lentils yourself? Not from a bag, not from a can, but directly in your own backyard soil? Drop it below. And the next plant on this list pairs with lentils almost perfectly, doubling the protein biblical families depended on when meat never touched their table. Earlier at the start of this video, I mentioned a grandmother in Ohio who planted her very first backyard grain patch after 50 years of only ever buying flour. This is that story. She was in Zone 6, spending close to $300 a year on flour and dried beans, until a single season of wheat and lentils, the same biblical staples documented in agricultural extension records, replaced almost all of it from her own backyard. By the following harvest, she had cut her grocery spending by nearly $280, all from a Zone 6 backyard she once thought was only good for flowers. If you are still watching, this next plant is why I made this video, not for the algorithm, but for the grower who stayed until now. And what comes next has a hidden ancestral use most people never expect from something this ordinary. Plant number 4, chickpeas. A small can of chickpeas runs close to $1.50 at the store, yet a single backyard row produces enough dried chickpeas to fill dozens of those cans without ever touching a shelf again. Picture pale green pods clustered thick along low bushy stems, a harvest basket sitting nearby, already half full by midsummer. Chickpeas appear in ancient Mediterranean trade records centuries before they ever reached an American grocery shelf. University extension sources confirm chickpeas as one of the most nitrogen-enriching legumes a home garden can grow. One $5 seed packet can replace close to $80 in canned chickpeas across a full growing year. Most American growers pull chickpea plants the moment pods look full, before the seeds inside have actually hardened. That early pull leaves the harvest soft and starchy, cutting $80 of stored value down by more than half. That patience at harvest is exactly what turns a soft handful of chickpeas into $80 of real stored protein. If you are watching and not yet subscribed, here is what that actually means. YouTube will stop putting this content in your feed, not slow it down. Stop, and Natural Verge releases plant knowledge every single week, built for American viewers who want real results. Plant number 5, leeks. A bundle of leeks at the store runs close to $4 for just 2 or 3 stalks, while a single backyard row keeps producing thick stalks for months at a time. Picture tall, pale green and white stalks standing in a neat row, soil mounded high around their base the way ancient growers once banked them. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, rich, moist soil. Leeks were prized enough in the ancient world that entire households mounded soil around them by hand to keep the stalks pale and tender. USDA growing records list leeks among the most cold, hardy allium crops available to American backyard growers. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $50 in store-bought leeks across a single season. Most American growers plant leeks too shallow, leaving the entire stalk exposed to direct sunlight and heat. That shallow planting turns the stalk tough and bitter, wasting most of that $50 of value at harvest. Bank the soil correctly, and that same stalk stays sweet and tender clear through the fall, and we have not even reached number 6 yet. This next stretch of the list is exactly why growers in their 50s and 60s tell us this channel finally speaks their language, And plant number 6 brings the crunch biblical gardens depended on through every hot summer stretch. Plant number 6, cucumbers. A few store cucumbers can run $3 or more for barely a single salad's worth, while a single backyard vine keeps producing fresh cucumbers steadily all summer long without one single extra purchase at the store. Picture long trailing vines heavy with dark green cucumbers hanging low near a sun-warmed garden fence, ready to pick every few days. Zones 4 through 11, full sun, consistent water. Cucumbers were valued highly enough in the ancient Near East that entire households mourned their absence during long desert travel. A detail documented in scripture itself. University extension sources confirm cucumbers as one of the highest water content food crops a home garden can produce. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $60 in store-bought cucumbers across a single growing season. Most American growers let cucumber vines sit directly on damp soil, inviting rot before the fruit ever fully forms. That single mistake can cut a $60 harvest down by half before midsummer even arrives. Trellis that vine up off the ground and the same $60 harvest comes back clean and steady for the rest of the entire season. Did you believe cucumbers were just a modern salad crop with no real ancestral weight behind them at all? Be completely honest in the comments, because plant number 7 carries a use most modern kitchens completely forgot existed. Plant number 7, flax. A small bag of flaxseed at the store runs nearly $6 for a few ounces, while a single backyard row produces pounds of seed that once clothed and fed entire biblical households at the same time. Picture slender flax stems topped with small, pale blue flowers, swaying together in a tight cluster near a sun-warmed garden bed. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, well-drained soil. Flax is one of the only ancient crops documented as both a food and a fabric, spun into linen for biblical households long before cotton ever reached them. Agricultural extension sources confirm flaxseed as one of the earliest cultivated oil-bearing seeds in recorded history. One $4 seed packet can replace close to $55 in store-bought flaxseed across a full growing season. Most American growers harvest flax seed heads too early, before the seeds inside have fully browned and hardened. That early harvest wastes most of that $55 in soft, immature seed. That patience with the seed head is exactly why one single plant once served two entirely different purposes inside a biblical household at the very same time, and the next plant on this list solved a very different problem entirely, feeding families through the exact cold season when fresh vegetables were hardest of all to find. Plant number 8, fava beans. A bag of dried fava beans at the store runs close to $5, while a single backyard row produces pounds of beans that store through an entire cold season without spoiling. Picture thick, upright stems lined with long green pods, each one holding rows of pale beans tucked in soft cushion lining. Zones 3 through 10. Full sun, cool season soil. Fava beans are among the oldest cultivated legumes on record, feeding Mediterranean and Near Eastern households thousands of years before canned beans existed. University extension sources confirm fava beans as one of the most cold-tolerant protein crops available to home gardeners. One $4 seed packet can replace close to $65 in dried fava beans across a full season. Most American growers leave fava pods on the plant too long, letting the beans turn starchy and tough. That single delay cuts $65 of tender protein down to something barely worth cooking. Pick them young and tender instead, and that same $65 turns into the sweetest protein in your entire garden. This channel exists for Americans who have spent enough seasons making expensive mistakes they were never warned about. And if that is you, and you are in your 50s or 60s, subscribe right now for zone-aware, dollar-grounded plant knowledge every single week. Plant number 9, coriander. A small jar of coriander seed at the store runs close to $4 for barely a few tablespoons, while a single backyard patch produces enough seed and fresh leaf to last a full family an entire year. Picture delicate lacy leaves topped with tiny white flower clusters, seed heads forming steadily along each slender stem. Zones 3 through 11. Full sun, well-drained soil. Coriander seeds have been found sealed inside Egyptian tombs, an archaeological detail confirming its place among the oldest known cultivated spices. University extension sources list coriander as one of the few plants harvested twice, once as leaf and once as seed. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $45 in store-bought coriander across a full year. Most American growers let coriander bolt in summer heat before the seed heads ever fully mature. That early bolt cuts $45 of usable spice down to almost nothing worth harvesting. Plant it early, before summer heat arrives, and that same coriander gives you 2 full harvests instead of 1 wasted bolt. What plant, spot, or situation in your own yard has defeated every single thing you have tried so far? Drop it below, because plant number 10 pairs with coriander in almost every biblical recipe ever documented. Plant number 10, cumin, a small jar of ground. Cumin at the store runs close to $5 for barely an ounce, while a single backyard patch produces enough seed to season a full year of biblical-style cooking without another purchase. Picture thin, thread-like leaves and small pink-white flowers giving way to slender, ridged seed pods by late summer. Zones 9 through 10. Full sun, long, hot season. Cumin appears by name in the New Testament as a tithe spice, valuable enough that even small quantities carried real weight. Archaeological sources confirm cumin seed among the earliest spices traded across the ancient Mediterranean world. One $4 seed packet can replace close to $70 in store-bought cumin across a full year. Most American growers plant cumin in cooler zones, with too short a season for the seed to ever mature. That mismatch wastes $70 of potential harvest before a single usable seed forms. Match cumin to a genuinely long hot season, and that same $70 turns into a full year of biblical-grade spice from just one small backyard patch. And plant number 11 brings the exact herb that traveled alongside cumin in nearly every single biblical tithe basket ever recorded and documented. Plant number 11, dill. A small package of fresh dill at the store runs nearly $3 for a few limp sprigs, while a single backyard patch keeps producing fresh dill and seeds steadily for months without ever wilting on a store shelf first. Picture tall, feathery blue-green fronds topped with wide golden flower umbels catching the summer sun. Zones 2 through 11. Full sun, average soil. Dill appears by name alongside cumin in the same New Testament tithe passage, confirming its value in ancient households centuries ago. Herbal monographs and documented traditional use list dill among the most consistently self-seeding herbs a garden can carry forward. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $40 in store-bought fresh dill across a full season. Most American growers harvest dill seed too early, before the heads have fully dried and turned brown. That early cut wastes most of $40 in usable seed for next year's planting. Let those seed heads dry fully on the stem, and dill will reseed itself year after year without you ever buying a packet again. And plant number 12 carries something dill and cumin never could. A fragrance biblical households used to freshen an entire home without a single candle. Plant number 12, mint. A small bundle of fresh mint at the store runs close to $3 and wilts within days, while a single backyard patch keeps producing fragrant leaves for years to come with almost no ongoing effort at all. Picture bright green serrated leaves climbing thick along square stems, spreading steadily across a contained garden bed. Zones 3 through 11. Partial shade, moist soil. Mint is named directly alongside cumin and dill in the New Testament as a tithed herb, valuable enough to be counted by weight. Herbal monographs and documented traditional use confirm mint as one of the most reliably self-spreading herbs a garden can hold. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $50 in store-bought fresh mint across a full year. Most American growers plant mint directly in open soil, letting it invade every bed within a single season. That single mistake can cost an entire garden bed worth replanting the following spring. Contain it in a buried pot instead, and that same $50 of mint stays exactly where you planted it, spreading only where you allow. Have you ever grown mint yourself? Not in a pot on a windowsill, but directly in your own backyard bed? Drop it below, because plant number 13 carries a pantry secret Egyptian households guarded closely. Plant number 13, onion. A bag of onions at the store runs close to $5 for a handful of bulbs, while a single backyard row produces dozens of bulbs that store through the entire winter without ever going soft or sprouting. Picture rounded papery bulbs pushing up through dark soil, tall, hollow green tops standing straight above each one. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun. Dried onions were documented among the food supplies buried with Egyptian pharaohs, believed valuable enough to accompany them into the next life. Agricultural extension sources confirm onions among the most reliable long storage crops any American backyard can grow. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $80 in store-bought onions across a full year. Most American growers plant onion sets at the wrong time for their day length, stunting bulb formation completely. That single timing error can waste $80 of expected harvest in a single missed season. Match the variety to your actual day length, and that same $80 becomes a full winter pantry of onions that never sprout early. And plant number 14 closes this entire pantry list the exact same way Egyptian households closed theirs, with the one bulb workers were rationed daily to survive. Plant number 14, garlic. A mesh bag of garlic at the store runs close to $4 for a handful of small bulbs, while a single backyard row produces dozens of full-sized heads that store steadily for nearly an entire full year. Picture thick papery bulbs with tall, upright green scapes curling above dark garden soil in early summer. Historical accounts describe Egyptian pyramid workers receiving daily garlic rations, valued enough to trigger a documented labor dispute over its supply. Agricultural extension sources confirm garlic among the longest storing bulb crops any American backyard can produce. One $3 seed packet can replace close to $90 in store-bought garlic across a full year. Most American growers harvest garlic too early, before the outer wrapper has fully dried and sealed. That early pull cuts $90 of storage life down to just a few short weeks. Cure it properly in a dry, shaded spot, and that same $90 of garlic lasts clear through to next year's harvest. And now that all 14 of these biblical pantry plants are on the table, there are 3 things about them almost no source ever puts in one place. 3 things about these 14 biblical food plants that almost no gardening source ever puts together in one single complete place. Lentils, chickpeas, and fava beans together can produce well over $150 in stored protein from barely $15 in seed across a single growing season. Cumin, dill, and mint together replace close to $160 a year in store-bought spice jars from 3 small backyard patches most people never even think to plant. Onion and garlic alone, properly cured, can store fresh for up to 10 months without ever touching a refrigerator or a single chemical preservative of any kind. Add all 14 of these plants together, and this one backyard pantry replaces roughly $400 a year in grocery staples permanently from one modest planting investment made just once each season. Here is exactly where to begin, based on your exact growing zone right now. Here is exactly where to begin. Zone to plants to dollar. If you sit in zones 3 through 5, start with wheat, barley, lentils, fava beans, dill, and mint, the 6 most cold-tolerant biblical plants across this entire 14-plant list from tonight's video. Planted together this fall, that single combination alone can replace close to $200 in grocery staples by the time next summer fully arrives. If you sit in zones 6 through 9, you have access to every single one of these 14 biblical plants at once, including cumin, coriander, chickpeas, and garlic that colder zones simply cannot grow reliably outdoors at all. Start this exact planting list before the current season fully closes, because miss this window and your very first real harvest waits a full entire year. You just received zone-accurate, dollar-grounded, research-based plant knowledge that most American gardening channels have never managed to put together in one single complete place before tonight. If this video gave you even one biblical food plant you had genuinely never considered growing in your own backyard before today, hit like right now. Drop your state and your exact growing zone in the comments right now, and tell us which of these 14 biblical plants you are planting first this fall. Subscribe to Natural Verge. The plants your great-grandmother knew by heart are still out there waiting, and we find them for you every single week.